Can anyone with diabetes consume tangerine? In this week's video we will evaluate the nutritional table and tell you whether or not you can consume this type of product. So enjoy, watch until the end, because I'm sure you'll leave here learning more and more. And in the video of this week's episode of Who Has Diabetes, we are going to evaluate this little friend of ours here, who here in my region, and my state of mind is Jure. We end up talking more like gossip in your region where you live. I want you to comment here now, what name do you give to this little friend of ours that I have already noticed that here we are with a tangerine, with coffee or tangerine, or bergamot. And that we will carry out a nutritional assessment to tell you whether or not you, who have been diagnosed with diabetes, can consume this type of product. So, evaluating the nutritional table gives us a field in which we will evaluate 100 grams of the product. Just an addendum here, we will have the tangerine, the bergamot with the peel. We have 134 grams of product. If we remove the peel, we will have around 100 grams of tangerine, from little. So we will now have a more interesting parameter regarding quantity. So basically we will talk about the nutritional table, one pointing here without the skin, so we can consume it. Okay. So we can see here in 100 grams of tip we will have 39 calories. Which is a very low amount and a super interesting amount. And we will have 9.84 grams of carbohydrates. In other words, less than 10% of the pancake gossip is carbohydrates. So this is a super interesting value. Super important we will have. In relation to proteins, 0.69 is not a protein food, and we will have 0.17 grams of fat. That is, there is almost no amount of fat in the food either. Regarding fiber consumption, we will have 1.6 grams of fiber. That's why it's super important when you eat, that you also eat pharmacist, and this way you'll add fiber to your meal. When you eat a tangerine, a tip, a bergamot, a tangerine. This is important. So, to be able to answer the question whether a diabetic can consume it or not, yes, a diabetic can consume it without any major problems, as long as you don't eat 3, 4, 5 units of this. If you consume 2 units, it's super okay, it's super interesting. You will consume 200 grams of fruit, and this will give you satiety. It will not cause an increase in the substance as long as you consume the pharmacist together and avoid, for example, tangerine juice, as then you will only be using fructose sources, which is the carbohydrate that comes from the fruit, will end up straining the fibers that come from the pharmacist, and it no longer makes it as interesting, because to be able to make a glass of about 300 milliliters of this bread here you will have to use 5, 6 units, and this will end up adding a large amount of carbohydrates. So we can talk about consumption, the use of the bread you can consume, avoiding excesses, using intelligence. And so you will create a broad food repertoire that will favor your treatment, which will help you to have good food choices, and so you will consume a little one day, consume an apple the next, consume a banana on another day. And so you will have food variety. And this is super important for those who have diabetes. As long as you don't go overboard with the quantities and use smart eating in your conversation. And from then on, you will benefit from your treatment and achieve balanced glycated hemoglobin and live free from complications. It is true. And that was the episode of Who Has Diabetes. This week we evaluate the tangerine. Little by little, bergamot, and this is essential for you to learn how to deal with this limitation and reap good benefits for your treatment. So, if you want to have a product evaluated by me, be sure to comment here about which product you want me to evaluate. And so I'm going to put it on my list, and we're going to check if you, who have a diagnosis of diabetes, might be consuming a product, a supplement, and this way we'll increase our knowledge, learning to evaluate the nutritional table and weighing our choices in a different way. Smarter and much more accurate. It is true? If you've watched it so far, it's a sign that you like the content. And if you like the content, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friend, who may sometimes have doubts about consuming this product. And so we share more and more information with people, and we evolve our treatment in a lighter, more interesting, more satisfying way that will make us increasingly healthier. Here I will leave another super content for you to continue learning more about the world of diabetes, about food, salt, meals, tips, and so I am sure that you will achieve the treatment of your dreams from now on, okay? So nice to stay here. May you all be with God and see you later.